The Oscars are coming up very soon, so today let's rank all 10 of the Best Picture nominations from Emilia Perez to the best. Leave your ranking down below. How would you rank all 10 of the Best Picture nominations from worst to best? I thought this was a decent year for Best Picture nominations. Some really big surprises. Some films I knew would be a Best Picture nomination. I'm really excited to see the Oscars and what will win Best Picture. At the end of the video, I'll leave my prediction on what film will win Best Picture. Coming in the last place, Emilia Perez. This is the one film that I was truly baffled that was nominated for Best Picture. This film does not have Best Picture quality. Now, I don't think it is a terrible film by any means. There are so much more worse films out there, but it is a film that when I watched it in November on Netflix, I didn't immediately think this is a Best Picture nomination. I don't think it's going to be nominated for 13 Academy Awards. That is insane to me.
Boy, have you lost your mind, because I'll help you find it.
This film is so hard to sympathize with our lead actress, as the character is part of the drug cartel, wants to transition from a male to a female. And then there's really like no depth given to this character. There's no personal journey, no development where you absolutely care about what is going on. On top of that, it does not even need to be a musical. The musical numbers in here add nothing to the movie. They are cringy. They just really feel out of place. There's no rhythm to it. I can't even remember any of the beats, the lyrics to the songs within this film. The performances are fine. I do think that Zoe Saldana will probably end up winning Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars. What's going on with the controversy with the lead actress? I think it's really hurting its chance of winning any Oscars. This is a film that, if it does end up winning Best Picture, it'll be one of the worst Best Picture winners of all time. Coming in at number 9, Nickel Boys. Now, every single film from number 9 all the way to number 1, I either liked it or I really loved the movie. Nickel Boys is a very deep personal film between the two boys within this film. You do feel a genuine relationship that grows throughout this movie. And it is a quite interesting film, as that it is a film that is POV. It really puts us into the perspective of what is happening within this film. The POV choice, unfortunately, does wear off about halfway into the movie. And I don't think it had that same dramatic weight it did earlier in the film. There's some cool things that they can do with that, some really beautiful shots within this movie, but unfortunately it kind of overstayed its welcome. I think it could have been a thing that they implemented here and there within the film, but the overall structure of the story, the characters, is where it has all that dramatic weight, and it is very personal and emotional to watch. Performances are really good within this film, and the story allows for that growth and realization within this movie. Just that POV choice was interesting, and I think it separates itself from a lot of the films that are nominated, but unfortunately it weared itself out pretty quickly and it wasn't as strong as it could be. Coming in number 8, Conclave. This is a film that I do think could win Best Picture. It is a thriller. It does have the subtle amount of humor. Got some good performances from Ralph Fiennes and Stanley Tucci and John Lithgow within this movie, and it offers a lot of deep themes about manipulation and power and control. It's a film that has this nice growth to it, to where the end of the film I'm more latched onto the story and the characters. It kind of has this slower buildup in the beginning and middle half of the film. You understand everything that's going on and the purpose of everything within Conclave, but the momentum doesn't really start to build for me until the end of the movie. That's where I'm really like attached to the movie. I'm on the edge of my seat. I want to see what's going to happen and play out within this movie. The beginning and the middle is where it kind of just moves a little bit slower for me. Performances are good, Feels a little bit repetitive at times, but the end is where everything is like sold for me, and that is where I find it to be the most engaging. I do think Conclave has a solid chance at winning Best Picture, and I wouldn't be upset if it did win. Honestly, I wouldn't be upset if number 1 through 9 won Best Picture. I would be highly upset if Emilia Perez did win, but I do think that Conclave is starting to build this momentum and has a solid chance of winning Best Picture. Coming in at number 7, A Complete Unknown. Timothée Chalamet gives a really good performance as Bob Dylan. He's able to capture that mysterious tone to Bob Dylan and perform a lot of the Bob Dylan songs fairly well. And a lot of the minor performances are great within here as well. I was surprised to see that James Mangold was nominated for Best Director, but I love that this film focused on Bob Dylan's career choices, not just like the trajectory of his career and from point A to point B. It showed the influence that he had and the choices that he made in his career that were personal to him. When he started to make some music choices, fans were quite upset with that, but you understood how music was important to him, and the choices that he made were thoughtful. And I like that aspect to this movie, as you see that musical change needed to happen for Bob Dylan, and it was a smart move to implement that within this film to kind of separate itself from your average biopic where you're just going from point A to point B. Here you veer off into some of the reasons why Bob Dylan ended up the way that he did with his musical change. So that was a great choice. Timothée Chalamet, really good performance. I love the music in here. The direction's great as well. Solid movie. I don't think it's the best biopic I've ever seen, but it is one of the better films of last year. And I do think that this movie also has a good chance. I think it's starting to build some momentum with Timothée Chalamet and with James Mangold as director. I could honestly see it winning Best Picture over films like Wicked or The Substance or Nickel Boys. I think that this and Conclave and a few other films I'm going to be talking about later have a more solid chance. Coming in at number 6, I'm Still Here. This was the last film I needed to see every single Best Picture nomination. I saw it a few weeks ago, and I was really surprised with this movie. I was blown away with how emotional and deeply personal this movie is, surrounding this woman who is trying to find her husband. And it's centered around Brazil and a time where a lot was going on with the government, and it affected a lot of people in Brazil. So you have a deeply personal storyline for this family as they're going through something quite tragic, and you feel that weight to this movie. And the performances are really good within here. I could see there being an upset and Fernanda Torres winning Best Actress because she is amazing within this film. When she needs to be very emotional, it works. When she needs to hold everything together to protect her family, it's strong. It has this vintage look to it. At times you offer like some montages with the family through photographs and videos, and it has that vintage look that feels very distinct and personal to this movie. The editing choices are great within here. The direction is beautiful, subtle, emotional, dramatic as can be. This was a huge surprise for me, and I'm glad that I did check this film out. And I think a lot of people are just now discovering I'm Still Here based on Fernanda Torres' nomination. It's one of the more quieter nominations compared to films like Wicked and The Substance and Dune Part Two, but it is equally as good as a lot of these movies on this list. If you haven't seen I'm Still Here, I highly do recommend checking it out. I don't think it has much of a chance to win Best Picture. I could be wrong. I'm not a voter. I'm not into all of the smaller awards, but I don't think it has that same momentum as films like Conclave that's building, and Anora, and The Brutalist as well, but it's still a really good movie. Coming in at number 5, The Brutalist. This is a sweeping epic focusing on chasing the American dream. I do think Adrian Brody is a solid pick for winning Best Actor. Guy Pearce is great in here as well. It's a lengthy film, but it feels like it needs to be lengthy. It needs to focus on the highs and lows of Adrien Brody's character's career and the more dramatic things that happen to him within this film. The challenges that happen really push that character forward. Brady Corbet is able to give this a distinct style that feels very classic, but also modern as well. I loved the overall approach to this movie and the style, the look of the movie. It feels very different from all of the movies within this list, but I was attached to the character, the journey throughout. Yes, it's long, but all of the challenges, all of the hardships throughout this movie, how personal it was for Adrien Brody's character's career. I love this movie. It was a lot to sit through at times, but it is worth a watch. Brutalist, I think, also has a really solid chance of winning Best Picture. There's about a handful of movies that I honestly could see having a very solid chance at winning Best Picture. That's why it's such a toss-up. You know, sometimes in the past where you have like a very clear winner, but between Anora and Brutalist and A Complete Unknown, Conclave, it seems like there's just like this toss-up at this point, and that's what's making the Oscars so exciting to watch this year. But The Brutalist, I think, is an amazing film. Lengthy at time, but it adds so much more to the film. Coming at number 4, The Substance. Can we just sit here and talk quickly that it is a amazing time to have this body horror film be nominated for Best Picture? When it was released in September, I didn't really put much thought into it. I only really check out one movie a week. And when it was released, I didn't think about going to go see it over something else. I can't remember what came out that same weekend, but people were buzzing about it. And I'm part of the Seattle Film Critics Society, and it won Best Picture for us back in December. And I was like, well, that's cool, but now it's just like, it's insane that this horror film is nominated, and the whole film is just absolutely wild. The body horror, the themes about getting older and self-image in Hollywood, it's all handled very well. Demi Moore is terrific in this movie, as well as Margaret Qualley. She is able to really tap into the younger self of Demi Moore's character. It just has this momentum that is growing and only becomes bloodier and more insane, and just leads up to this absolutely wild, bizarre ending of a movie. But what easily could be just a simple body horror film that has impressive prosthetics and makeup and costumes and everything ends up being a more deep, rich movie about loving yourself and self-image and the fear of getting older and holding on to the past. There's so many deeper themes within this film, that why it's so important and resonates with a lot of people. And people are looking at the overall structure of the story over more of that body horror. They're looking at how important the story is, but all that body horror adds so much more to this movie. I was really impressed with The Substance. The first time I watched it, I thought it was all right. I don't think it was deserving of Best Picture for the Seattle Film Critics Society. And it was shocked to see it nominated for Best Picture, but I've seen it a couple times since then, and now I'm realizing how cool this movie is, and so glad that we got a movie like this in the Best Picture list. Coming in at number 3, Wicked. I haven't seen the play, I haven't read the book, but I was really excited for this film because I'm a big fan of Wizard of Oz, and I wanted to see the connection between the two. And there was a lot of hype with this film, a lot of hype. I think they did a fabulous job marketing this movie. And it paid off. It is a great musical. There is a lot of emotion to this film, a lot of personal moments. The performances from Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are outstanding within this film. I would love it if Ariana Grande ended up winning Best Supporting Actress. She really surprised me with this film. Not seeing so much from her acting wise, I thought she was so good. Visually, it's stunning. The set designs, the musical numbers, everything is so swift and so smooth within this film. And all of the bigger dramatic scenes, especially like at the end of the film, all the CGI, everything just plays out so nicely. I'm so excited for the sequel, and it'd be amazing if it could also be nominated for Best Picture. But this Wicked film, I was really surprised with it, not knowing anything really behind it all. I mean, I've heard a couple of the songs. I didn't know much about the story. I found it to be really engaging, emotional throughout. I liked the characters, performances were good. It was just a really fun, entertaining musical. The musical moments were great as well. Well choreographed. John M. Chu goes all in with the direction. There's so many cool things that happen, like in the background, as you have the musical numbers that are just like chaotic throughout. You have a lot of detail in the background as well. Wicked was impressive, and people were blown away by it. It's one of the more popular films this year, like Dune and this film were hugely accessible to a lot of people. But this movie, I liked it a lot, and I'm excited for the sequel. Coming in second place, Dune Part 2. This is a sci-fi epic that many people are going to be talking about years down the road. Denis Villeneuve's work within this film, it is surprising that he was not nominated for Best Director, because there is some outstanding shots within this movie. There is a lot of great work within here. Performances from Zendaya, Timothée Chalamet are all great, but it has this deep, rich lore in this film. The structure of the story of the characters, it all feels like just something so out of this world. And it sets up so the first film set it up so nicely to where you can explore more of the characters, their choices, all of the action, everything within this film just feels like it's a more ramped up version compared to that first film. The first film was really great as well, but the second film, with its cinematography, the sounds, the costumes, the acting, like everything about this film is perfect. Everything about it just all mixes together to be a really interesting story that I cared about, but also on like a technical level, everything just stands out about this film. And it's crazy when you can have such a big sci-fi epic film where everything technically is amazing, but the performances, the story also is really good. And so I do wish that this film had more love at the Oscars. I unfortunately don't think it's one of the films that has much of a chance. It's amazing, and I think a lot of people have it really high on the list, but when you look at more of the prestigious films, I don't think Dune Part 2 unfortunately is part of that list, as much as I love it and a lot of other critics love this movie as well. I don't think it has the strongest chance to win Best Picture, but I would love it if it won Best Picture. But coming in first place, Anora. I do think Sean Baker wins Best Director. I think Mikey Madison wins Best Actress. I think Anora is going to be the film that wins Best Picture. Could be wrong. Could be Conclave. Could be Incomplete Unknown. Could be I'm Still Here. Could be Brutalist. Could be Emilia Perez, for all I know. I think that Anora has the strongest chance of winning Best Picture. I feel like the discussion around Anora has grown over the last few weeks, with Sean Baker as director, Mikey Madison as Best Actress. There's a lot that's going for Anora at this point. But for me, I love this film. I love like the Cinderella type story for Mikey Madison. At times, it's just insane. Most of like the third act of the movie, it's hilarious, it's wild, and it allows for Mikey Madison to give an all-out just crazy performance with what she goes throughout the film. The soundtrack also adds a lot to the movie. I love just the development of Mikey Madison's character. She's very different from when she's in the club to when she's with this relationship with Ivan. So many things happen within this film, but the direction is so great from Sean Baker. I was entertained throughout this movie, but also interested in seeing what happens to her character with Ivan. There's also a lot of personal moments for what she goes through, things that, you know, she can challenge herself, and, you know, she wants to get out of a certain lifestyle. There's a lot of things that happen within this film, but also like that technical level from Sean Baker, the editing, the soundtrack, everything looks good within this film. Anora was my second favorite film of last year. I think it has the best chance of winning Best Picture. It just is an amazing movie. I loved it. It was funny. It was emotional. You felt the dramatic performances, even from the supporting performances as well. Everything in this movie is good. I loved it. I had the best time watching this film compared to all the other Best Picture nominations. Everything in this list is good, except for Emilia Perez, but all the movies I loved from last year, but Anora was my favorite one of these 10. So there you guys have it, all 10 nominations ranked worst to best. How would you rank them? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Justin Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.